Netflix has a new movie out called The Electric State. It's directed by the Russo brothers who did Infinity War and Endgame along with the Captain America films. And if you were to believe the critic community and the armchair experts of social media, then you would think that this is the worst film ever made. But I'm here to tell you it's really not that bad, and many people are actually saying it's pretty great. The plot of The Electric State is fairly simple on its face. It follows an orphaned teen girl played by Millie Bobby Brown who hits the road with a mysterious robot to find her long lost brother. Along the way, she teams up with a smuggler played by Chris Pratt, and he's joined with a wisecracking robot sidekick played by Anthony Mackie. But the star power doesn't just stop there. It's wall to wall with celebrities. Really, I'd be here all day if I named everyone. But honestly, with this review, that doesn't need to be my main focus. What I really want to hone in on is the critical reception, which has been extremely negative, and the conversation around this movie. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe, the likes, the comments, all of that. Whether you like what I have to say about this movie particularly or not, I do keep you abreast on everything going on in the entertainment industry, along with reviews on the newest things coming out in movies and TV. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We really, really appreciate it. It's reaching a point where the groupthink surrounding the negative opinions about the Electric State is downright hilarious. The hyperbolic rhetoric is at a fever pitch. I keep hearing the exact same talking points from literally everyone who dislikes it. How many of them have you seen use the words slop, pandering, or soulless? Or seen them say, if only this was made by Denis Villeneuve or some other similar director? How many of them are screaming about the admittedly too high budget, but can't seem to deny how absolutely stunning the movie looks? Or lastly, about the fact that it doesn't stick to a graphic novel which no one had actually heard of or knew existed until now. Let's start with the descriptors they're all using. It's as simple as this. They can't put their finger on any solid reasons why exactly they disliked it. They're just mad it exists and they want a good insult. These simple popcorn flicks are easy to hate on for grumpy, jaded types. If they've actually watched it, they'll admittedly know many people are going to find the Electric State very fun, which inherently makes them more angry. Once they hear others launch the aforementioned insults, they think, oh, yeah, there it is. That's a good one. And begin to regurgitate the exact same talking points like they're those dipshits we've seen on corporate news channels where they all say the same exact things in unison.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
What if a different director had made it? Accusation falls in the same camp with the complaint that it doesn't stick to the source material. The tone and vibe of the graphic novel is very dark, gritty, and bleak. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've had enough of that sort of thing to last a lifetime. But even if you haven't had your fill of misery, it's not hard to see why they didn't go that route. Did you know that creator and artist Simon Stålenhag had a big budget Amazon show based on his work back in 2020 called Tales from the Loop? The show wasn't bad at all, but it did not have the mass appeal, and few people saw it. The heavy, somber tone and instantly less approachable nature of it made it more divisive. And look, I can almost guarantee you that I've been a fan of Simon's work for long before anyone you knew had ever even heard his name. I love the imagery he creates and have followed him for around 8 years. I know his art can look heavy, but it can also see the potential in there. You can find the joy and wonder in the dystopias that he creates. All of this is not to mention that if this had been closer to what people consider to be Simon's vision, then I can guarantee you this would have been more of the generic far left propaganda we've been getting shoved down our throats from Hollywood for at least the past 15 years.
Let's bring the rainbow.
Yeah. Weird.
The dude's pretty much a commie. Most would consider him woke. As with the depressing movies full of commentary, I've had my fill of that sort of thing, so it's a hard pass. I'll enjoy the art, not the artist. I get that they turned this into a family film. It's a bit of an odd move compared to the tone of Simon's art, but it doesn't mean it can't be done or shouldn't be done. Hollywood rarely puts out that sort of thing anymore unless it's a superhero film. This was an extremely refreshing change of pace that allowed my kids to see something that's cool and sci-fi for a change. I actually thought much of the imagery on display that was clearly directly pulled from the graphic novel looked awesome. Lastly, in regard to the crazy high $300,000 plus budget, I'm not too sure why it was quite that high, but it was cheaper to make than Avengers Endgame or Avatar 2. This movie had nearly as much star power as those movies, and the visual effects on screen were better than 99% of the things that come out. The robots look freaking real. They are an actual tangible thing in this world. It had a similar feel to how the Na'vi in Avatar 2 as well, but it just didn't look as lame. But yes, I get it. They could have made 100 bland art house films that nobody gives a crap about for the exact same price. But that wasn't what they were going for. They were trying to break ground in this mass market popcorn fun entertainment sphere. I've been listening to endless people scream things like, "We want original stories. Can't you simply entertain us or just make movies good again?" Yet here we are with each complaint addressed, and yet the exact same people are complaining. Maybe the problem is you. I would argue that in scenarios like this, sometimes good is not only just enough, but it's even great. While The Electric State isn't a flawless masterpiece, it's collectively so good and feels so original that the experience itself is great. It does what so many of us have been begging for, and that's to be entertained. I have always been the guy to rail endlessly against the negativity of the critic sphere. I mean, it's the entire reason that I created a social entertainment reviewing platform called Criticless. Critics tend to be a pretentious lot. They're also regularly guilty of the groupthink, which I mentioned before. They develop opinions off of others' thoughts or just from watching the trailers, and then before they even try out the product, they've made up their mind. These same individuals who pride themselves on being intellectuals or boast about having more refined palate regularly claim to enjoy some of the most mindless, uninteresting, and utterly offensive dog shit imaginable. The type of thing that feels like you should just go to sleep to, or it just makes you want to jump off the nearest cliff. Just because something ticks every technical box does not make it enjoyable. Then these folks will add insult to injury by having the gall to shame people for simply having a good time. Everything doesn't have to be aimed at making a grand statement or require every piece to click perfectly into place, especially when it's aimed at a larger audience, and even more so when family films are involved. This sort of obsessive yammering about logic, continuity, structure, scientific accuracy, adherence to realism, or even lack of a deeper messaging is exactly what makes regular folks think, what the hell are these people talking about? I had a really great time. And it makes the aforementioned critic viewpoint sound, well, very dickish.
Dickus.
The idea that one can't turn off their brain or shouldn't be expected to while watching something that's totally fantasy has always aggravated me to no end, and it seems to come up a lot with criticisms around this movie and others like it. The fact is, many people can do that and actually greatly enjoy it. It's not their fault that you have a stick up your ass. This comes down to letting go. Just have fun. Enjoy the freaking ride.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Now, about this movie specifically. Firstly, I enjoyed the cast, the acting, and even a lot of the script. My family and I had a blast. We laughed a lot. There were many memorable moments and extremely funny lines delivered by both the robots and Chris Pratt. Now, Millie Bobby Brown was fine. She's an audience surrogate of sorts, pulling the watcher along for the journey. The action is exciting and engaging. Everything about the movie is rather unoffensive, and that in itself is refreshing. I'll agree. There's this main plot point that involves a boy's brain brain and it's messy. It doesn't really work, but honestly, most normal folks won't think twice about it.
Nothing makes fucking sense. Life makes no sense.
That goes doubly for the socio-political commentary that they lightly touch on, but they don't really direct you to think much about it. It's left to the viewer to think on. This is the full extent of what most people, especially kids, want. We all know Hollywood can't handle this sort of thing with any level of tact. I know that I'm not going to convert the small pool of general audience complainers or the insufferable critics who likely tanked this simply because they hate Chris Pratt or Millie Bobby Brown. One thing all of these people have in common is that misery loves company. These folks can enjoy their sad little circle jerk while the rest of us are enjoying our simplistic lives. My kids said to make sure that everyone knows that the two of them give this movie 100% and a 95%. And my 11-year-old specifically said that she would fist fight anyone who gave this less than an 80%. So buckle up. She's going to punch you in the mouth. Clearly, the two of them had an absolute blast. And I did as well, which means that this movie did achieve what it set out to do and be an exciting, fun family film. And it seems to be doing that for a lot of people. So cheers to everyone who enjoyed The Electric State, and to everyone who didn't, freaking lighten up.